Americans, stand by.
I hope you remember what Melvin said, although you probably won't because you don't hear the Melvins too often. They don't get an opportunity. But every time a guy like Sharpton or Daughtry say, they say, hey, I'm going to burp at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, all the TV cameras are knocking themselves out to get over there. All right. We have 16 more minutes together here on this last program of 1987. Let's try to make the most of it. Mark, hello. Mark, hello.
Bob.
Yes.
I've been waiting a long time. Maybe I'll be the last caller of 1980.
No, you won't because it's only 16 before 6.
All right. Well, I'd like to take 16 minutes. This whole Howard Beach thing, it's unfortunate. I'll tell you why. So many people who disagree with you set you up by saying up front, well, Bob, I agree with 95% of what you say, and I'm not going to do that because I agree in this case 100% with what you say. The unfortunate thing is now that certain people, certain racist people on the black side will now make certain will now have certain perceptions and will have those reinforced. All the things that I was told as a young boy, maybe some other people were told about, well, you don't go into this neighborhood, you don't go into that neighborhood, this will happen to you, that will happen to you. Now the blacks who want to believe that every time a crime is committed against them by a white is racist, now they'll have reinforcement for that because of this decision. The people of Howard Beach have been labeled, unfortunately. Now, let's talk a little bit about these 3 who have been convicted. They're not exactly the cream of society themselves. This Mr. Lester, the young man Lester, if I remember, the incident's a year old. In his immediate statements to the police, after he was brought in the station house, I guess, after they were rounded up, I believe he said it was his goal in life to become a member of organized crime. Obviously, not something that we would want our young children to want to progress.
Well, he wasn't indicted,
right,
for saying that.
Right. Okay.
As a teenager, I think you could allow him a little latitude in saying something dumb and stupid. But are we going to focus on John Lester and try to create John Lester as a monster? Where are you coming from?
What I'm saying?
You remind me of so many people who say, I come to bury Caesar, not to praise him. Then you turn around praising him. What
I'm saying is that these 3 men in Howard Beach, the young men who were convicted, are not typical of the type of people who live in Howard Beach.
Well, certainly John Lester isn't, because right. John Lester...
It's involved in a gun charge after that, wasn't
right. He's doing time for having a loaded gun. He
right.
didn't use the gun, but it's still a crime to have a loaded gun. Now, just think how many thousands, I'm sorry to say, maybe hundreds of thousands of people within the sound of our voices right now have loaded guns illegally.
That's right. Right. Michael Perone got off great. Michael Perone's not a violent person, great. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know what these guys should have been convicted of, should not have been convicted of. I don't know what it takes to be convicted of manslaughter, what it doesn't take to be convicted of manslaughter. All right? All I'm saying is, I've already said what I said. Stephen Murphy said he didn't want the people in court to think they were going to intimidate him. That's fine. And I don't want to be intimidated on the phone. I know where I'm coming from. I agree with 100% of everything you've been saying since this verdict came in. But I'd also like to say, and I'm saying this for the people of Howard Beach, I don't think those 3 young men, they're talking about a nightmare. The last year has been a nightmare. Maybe they contributed to this nightmare. Is that possible?
Well, I don't know what you want to achieve. I have a feeling you're trying to achieve some goal here that is...
No,
you're not being forthcoming. You're really not.
I'm being very forthcoming.
No, you're not.
I'm being
because you keep saying you agree with me 100%, and then you try to turn around and amend that in a very surreptitious manner.
The politicalness with which this has become. and how first of all, how the whole thing has become a black-white issue. I agree with everything Murphy said about they can call us white racial names. We can't call them white racial names. But let's not try to paint these three guys who were convicted as innocent totally in the whole thing. They actually had something to do with this whole incident.
Well, why do you want to argue about something there's nothing that... Why do you bring up something that we have no argument over?
I have never heard you say that.
Well, then you haven't listened to this broadcast.
And what... Wait a minute. Now, I defended you all day in work.
I don't need you to defend me at work. Listen, are you paid to argue about Bob Grant, or are you paid to do a job?
You would want people to stick up for you.
Well, I don't want you to take money under false pretenses, and your employer is not paying you to argue about me on the job.
Bob, anytime somebody says something that you don't like, you take this attitude. All right? You have idiots like Bo Dietl on yesterday. He doesn't even know how to use the English language. He speaks like a gavone, to use one of your words. This all presents a certain image to the people who don't like you and your views and me and my views as it is.
Well, don't keep lumping yourself with me, because I don't think there's a link here.
No?
No.
Well, all right, now, let me go to point two. Can I go to point two? I'm being gracious. It's your show. Can I go to point two?
You're also being snide. I'm getting annoyed with you.
Well, you talk about panderers. Why do you pander to the Jewish community so much?
Uh-huh. This is what this call is all about.
No, it's not.
This is what this call is all about. Here's a guy. Hey, look, you know what you are? Let me say what you are. You are the biggest phony that's called me in a long time. Here you come up and you say you agree with me 100%. You're a real phony. I mean, the word phony was created for you. And if I ever see you, would you identify yourself? Would you raise your hand and say, I'm that little weasel, that little phony Mark, so I can punch your lousy nose down your throat? Get off my phone, you creep! What a weasel. Very quickly. Hello, George.
Yes. I have tried to get through to you many days, and I have to say that one of my main things is that I have no respect for you whatsoever, because you have no veracity, no integrity.
Do you know what veracity means?
Yes.
What does it mean?
It means that you're a liar. It means that you use the dummies that you cater to.
I cater to dummies.
You cater to dummies.
Well, how come you've called me then? How come you're in the audience?
You have to listen to the stink to know how much it stinks. and you are something that I believe that the people that allow you to have a microphone should be brought up on criminal charges. Yet you do have constitutional rights, but your rights should be limited to a soapbox on a street corner, maybe Lennox.
George, I wish I had more time to listen to this hot air because it's such a cold day. Call again, will you, George, you jerk? Remember, for Talk Radio, there's only one, and you're listening to it, WABC New York, Talk Radio 77.
Bob, you're on WABC. Good afternoon. Jesse Helms really did a service to us all, by exposing that. Jesse Helms, one of the greatest Americans.
Yeah, you sound a little facetious when you say that.
Oh, no. But
really, you don't sound convincing. I don't think you believe what you just said.
Oh, he is one of the greatest Americans. He's been a great American for many, many years. Keeping blacks in their place where they belong. And black people like that.
Really? Did Jesse Helms say that?
Oh, yeah, back in the 50s when he was a television commentator.
He said that on the air?
Oh, yeah, in the 50s you could. See, in the 50s you could be honest and say things like that.
Yeah, where are you coming from, Bob? What's your position? Are you a civil rights worker? What are you?
No, I'm not a civil rights worker.
Well, what are you?
No,
What are you? What's your orientation? Sexually, racially, politically?
Bob.
I'll tell you what your orientation is. You're a snake. That's what you are. Get off my phone, you creep. Hello, Chris.
Yes, can I speak to Bob?
Yeah, this is Bob, Chris. I'm sorry to tell you.
What?
Yes. This is Bob, Chris.
Yes, I would like to... I went up parking. Hello?
Yeah, goodbye.
Can I speak to Bob?
Yeah, Bob, there's a guy here wants to sell you some cheap muscatel. Oh, yeah? Tell him I'll call him after the program. It's 5:29. Let's say hello to Phil now on WABC. Phil, as in Phil Latzman. Hello, Phil.
Yes. Mr. Grant?
Yes, Phil.
Happy New Year, and I, for one, was very glad to read that
your contract was renewed for a very, very long time.
Where did you read that?
It was in the newspaper.
I told him to keep it quiet.
Well, it wasn't a newspaper.
We got a program director here that went around bragging. Well, that's all right. I don't blame him. That's all right. What'd you call for, Phil?
It also stated that you had given up hope of running for public office.
I didn't. Well, that's
what it stated. All
right. Okay. Let's talk about something important, like what's on your mind.
Okay. What's on my mind is, well, number one, I'm going to make a resolution. I'm not going to talk about anything that may be controversial because I guess I don't come over properly.
That's true. You don't come over properly.
Well, I certainly, I don't mean anything by what I say, except I've always felt that representation is just a little overbearing in
in other words, too many Jews, right? Hey, Phil, too many Jews, right, Phil? Isn't that?
No, you said it. I didn't say it.
No, but that's what's on your mind at all times. And that's why you and I always wind up arguing, because you're so anti-Semitic, you can't see straight, you can't think straight, you can't talk straight.
Well, one of us isn't talking straight right now. I happen to be very calm.
I'm not calm. I get agitated because I know that in the back of your mind, no matter what you start out talking about, you wind up with some anti-Jewish shtick.
Well, let's try me.
Let's try you. What, do I have to give you a test?
Okay. What I want to talk about is reverse discrimination.
All right.
A few years ago...
By the way, Phil...
Yeah.
Since everybody wants me to promote other programs, let me promote my own. Tomorrow, there's a guy by the name of Chester Grabowski supposed to come in. He publishes something called the Post-Eagle. You'll like him. He's real anti-Semitic. And he's going to be a guest on the show because I challenged him to back up some of the obscene statements he made in his newspaper about me. And in a recent front page of his little paper, he says, editor accepts invitation from radio host Bob Grant. So he's going to be on tomorrow. Chester will be on. You're not a friend of his, are you, Phil?
Believe me, my opinion, the only thing that I ever tried to express was the overabundance of representation by certain minorities in this country.
Can you be more specific?
I don't want to talk about that. I really don't want to talk about that.
You want to give the Jews a rest, okay.
What I want to say is this. A few years ago, a diner was held up by a minority group.
Do you want to identify them?
Well, they were black.
Why do you find it so difficult to say that? Why do you go, well, they were black? Why do you do it that way?
They held up this diner.
That was out on Long Island, pal.
And they forced a woman in this diner to do acts on the ones that perpetrated the crime.
What are they? You know, you're being so vague. You're making me nervous. What did they force her to do?
Well, they forced them to do
perform fellatio. Well, I remember the case, Phil. I know it.
Remember the case.
All right.
Can I say this?
I don't know why Phil gets me nervous.
Why is it that when it's black on white, a situation like that was so detest and so ugly, it was never, no one ever kept that going in the paper. Just like the time when people went to a concert in Central Park, and there were hordes of blacks that attacked the people walking out of this concert.
Yeah, we should have sent Diana Ross a bill.
Excuse me?
We should have sent Diana Ross a bill.
Well, why is it that people that more or less represent this city, and there are I think there's still at least 50% white people in this city, why is it that we can't get anyone to speak out and say, look, what they did in Howard Beach was gross, but what you did in Central Park could never be forgiven.
Well, you said it. Thank you, Phil.
Okay, thank you.
Right now, we're going to check in with Pete Torriello, checking on WABC Shadow Traffic. Hello, Gene.
Hello, Bob.
Yes.
Yes, I wanted to speak with you. I really think that as racist as you are, I think within 2 years, by December 1989, you will be very seriously ill because no one could go on the radio like you do day after day spewing the hate and the hate monger that you are, the way you spoke to that black man the other day. No one could go on the way you are and not get sick.
What is your characteristic? Would you describe yourself, Gene? What do you look like?
What do I look like?
Yes, since we don't have television, I have to ask you that.
Well, I'm a 46-year-old woman. I work.
No, I didn't ask your age. What, you want to tell me your racial background?
Yes, I'm very proud to say that I'm black.
I see. Well, that accounts for your hostility and animosity.
No, I'm not hostile at all. And
you're not hostile at all?
I'm also not intimidated by you.
Well, who asked you to be intimidated by me?
No, because this is what you're getting ready to go off on now. But I just wanted to say...
I don't want to hear you anymore. You know why, Gene? You know why, Gene? Because you're a phony jerk. You're a phony jerk, Gene. That's what you are. You're a phony jerk. And I'm not going to be the one that's sick. You're getting sick. Gene, if I'm so obnoxious to you, if it bothers you so much, why do you listen? Who compels you to listen?
No one compels me to listen.
Okay, thank you. Then she's just a fan. All right, I shouldn't argue with a fan. WABC, let's say hello to Frank on the New York line. Hello, Frank.
Bob?
Yes.
Frank from Westchester.
Yes, Frank.
I'm a retired citizen, and thank God the last 4 months I've been listening to you. Last week you made a comment about... why don't you, my listeners call me up and tell me that they're there? Well, I'm here. Don't think sometimes we can't get to you, Bob.
Well, I have to know that you're there.
Yeah, I'm here, Bob. The kid is here, Bob.
That's why I prefer a live performance, because I can see the people.
Right. One more short thing. Last night, Bob, on the news, Governor Cuomo was listening to his 6 Democrat delegates?
Yes.
And I listened to a couple, and all of a sudden, Jackson gets on. And I'm hard of hearing a little bit, but my God, all I heard was Reaganomics. That's all. Who understands this guy? I don't understand that man for nothing.
Well, most individuals outside of his own racial group don't take him seriously. I'm surprised you're even taking him seriously. The man's a joke. He's an absolute joke.
He's a pain in the... Well,
and I tell you why it's a joke. A mirthless joke. It's a joke because he's not qualified to be president. He has absolutely no background to be president. And yet, the vast majority of politicians, particularly of the Democrat Party, but even the Republican Party, hesitate to say that. They're afraid of being called racist. How does it make you a racist? Because you're able to look at a guy's record, see what he is, see what he's done and what he's not done, and say, hey, the guy has no qualification to be president.
Right.
I mean, we should all go around with hockey masks or something like that, so nobody knows what color another person is. Then we could speak openly and we wouldn't worry, right?
Right.
Unless you're Bob Grant. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Bob.
Tom, you're on WABC Talk Radio, and hello. Tom is not there. Whenever you hear that, that means the skivoo's hung up. Got tired. It's 2:29. Joe, you're on WABC. Hello. Joe didn't stay on the line because Joe's a jerk. Hello, Helen. Hello, Helen.
Good afternoon.
Hello, Helen.
Good afternoon. How are you?
How am I? Look, I got to do 4 hours here every day. I don't understand what I did wrong that I got to do 4 hours. There's a couple of other guys around here keep begging me for an hour of my time. I say, take it. But the management won't take it. I don't know why they make me work harder than the rest of the people around here. How am I? How do you think I'd be? What would you like to say, Helen?
Well, what I'm really concerned with is the treaty for the destruction of the U.S. missiles and the Soviets.
Good.
What I want to know is, by what means can they actually destroy these? They can't shoot them off?
Well, no.
They can't drop them in the ocean? What do they do?
Well, they dismantle them. They dismantle them without blowing them up. The rockets themselves, that is, the missiles themselves, the method for delivering the warhead, the proposal is that they will just shoot them off into space. So there is no problem there because a nuclear warhead is not involved. They will remove the warhead. As a matter of fact, I was reading one of the sub-articles of the agreement, and in all likelihood what they will do is take the fissionable material, and they can use that elsewhere. But the other mechanical devices, the other parts of the warhead will be, they said, smashed. That's the word they use. I don't know how you'd say smash in Russian, but that's what they said.
Well, you certainly answered my question, and I thank you very much.
Thank you, Helen.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, now we're going to check in with Pete Torriello and WABC Shadow Traffic.
Well, Bob, the Brooklyn-bound Williamsburg Bridge is still closed. Police have just taken into custody a man who had climbed the Brooklyn Tower. The bridge remains closed, however, because the police believe they may have a second man now up on the Manhattan Tower, so they're checking that out.
On WABC, let's have some headlines. Let's go to the newsroom, directly from the newsroom. Bruce Anderson.
Thank you, Bob. A hearing is still underway over who should get custody of 17-month-old Mitchell Steinberg.
Crying out loud. I don't even know why I bothered coming in. You know, I don't even have to show up. I could just put a few announcements on the cartridge. I could be all set. Why did I stay home? They send me the money. Here, you want me to practice? I'll do tomorrow's program. Ready? We'll be back in just a moment. Now, here's Pete Torriello with WABC Shadow Traffic. Now, headlines with Bruce Anderson. I mean, that's all I'm doing here. What the heck? What is there to listen to? I wouldn't even listen. I gotta get out of here. I tell you, I gotta get out of here. I'll go. I really will. I'll be in the rubber room. I'll be in a padded cell. Oh, dear me. And they keep sneaking in more and more commercials. They look at the ratings and say, oh, look at the high ratings there. Let's load it up. Talk about killing the goose that laid the golden egg. Now, why do I have to have any pride in this program? Why don't I be like everybody else? Just be so eager to be on the air. Such a little putrid egomaniac that I say, oh, well, I don't care. I'm on the air. I say, hi, this is Bob Grant. This is Bob Grant. Hey, Ma, did you hear me? Now, if you want to call, not that you'll be heard, because before you know it, we'll be introducing the traffic, and we'll have some more commercials. But just for laughs, if you're in New Jersey, and Dr. Pogue has said the phone lines are working, 489 WABC. We can say it openly, nakedly. 489 WABC. If you want to be heard, if you want the dubious thrill of saying, I called Bob Grant on the radio. Hello, Arthur. Hello, Arthur.
Hello, Bob.
Yes.
I listen to you when I can. I'm sorry I can't hear you more often. I wanted to talk to you about the INS treaty.
Yes, Dave.
I'm a believer in the old axiom that if it's not broken, you don't fix it. We have had a peace for the past 40 years based on the fact that war is just impossible. The United States has the ability to destroy the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union has the ability to destroy the United States. War is just unthinkable. Now, why are we looking to change this?
We're looking to change it because the maintaining of the Pershing IIs and the cruise missiles costs us money. And on the Soviet side, they want to reduce the expenditure that it takes for them to maintain the SS-20s.
I have a...
So if we can reduce the expenditures on both sides for what we spend on armaments, then theoretically those monies will go into more fruitful, more enjoyable things.
I have a different idea which I'd like to present to you and get your opinion on. I think that the reason the United States is going into it is because Reagan wants to get his place in history and because he wants to get the Iran-Contra scandal off the front pages, and he certainly does.
Well, the Iran-Contra thing has been off the front pages even before the signing of the treaty.
Yeah, well, it was off when they started talking about it.
But Ronald Reagan has said when he took office that he hoped that by being strong, that he hoped by building up, we could come to some agreement. And he said correctly at the time, the only thing the Soviets respect is strength. And if you negotiate from strength, then you have a chance.
Yeah, but I think he's being suckered into something. Why does the Soviet Union want to make this agreement?
Well, the Soviet Union wants to make this agreement because, as I told you a moment ago, they're spending anywhere from 16 to 20% of their gross national product on armaments.
I think there's a difference.
Oh, you think nothing. Get off my phone, for heaven's sake. What do you ask me for if you don't want my answer, you dope? There's a guy in love with a cliche. If it's broke, don't fix it. Ladies and gentlemen, here we are at 5 o'clock on WABC. That's the end of round 3 of our get-together. Round 4 lies ahead. What next?
His most listened to talk station, Talk Radio 77 WABC, New York.
Let's say hello to Joe. Hello, Joe, on WABC.
Yeah, just one quick comment. That last caller, Bernie, is a real sick pup. But anyhow, what do you think of that station in Utah, that racist station that had that guy Butler from Idaho on?
There's a station in Utah. Is that FM station?
No, it's a new show. It's a white supremacist show from Utah.
You say from Utah. Does it go nationwide?
Broadcast from Utah. Well, it was on national news. I saw it on all the stations. It was on the radio and everything.
Oh, well.
I was wondering if you were aware of that.
I think that we make, we get all excited, all hot and bothered over something like that, and yet we have right here in our city, WLIB, which has some of the. Why are you getting excited?
Station, not LIB, BAI, okay? LIB is a Christian station, and you are a bigot. What you're doing is the same thing as a guy in Utah, but you're more subtle, because this is New York. Don't knock LIB, you bigot. Knock BAI. They have the commies and the gays. What's wrong with you?
What's wrong with you?
I don't like racism on any side.
I see. You don't like racism? Well, neither do I.
Like Morton Downey, who you're jealous of, you bigot.
Listen, do me a favor, will you? Where are you? Where are you right now?
You moved to Idaho, where all your people are, you bigot.
Where are you right now?
Oh, you want to meet me?
I do. I really do. I want to meet you. Not to punch your lousy, putrid nose down your throat. I want to meet you to kill you, you skunk. Get off my phone! That slams the lid on things for today. Until tomorrow, this is Bob Grant reminding you, your influence counts. Use it.
America's most listened to talk station, Talk Radio 77 WABC, New York.
Art, hello.
Hello?
Yes, Art.
How are you?
What's on your mind beside the state of my health, Art?
Well, I do worry about how you doing, guy. I think you're a great guy. But I want to talk about this whole shenanigans going on in the UN. About America voting against Israel. Now, I think that's fine, because I do have a lot of qualms the way Israel runs its government. But I don't like the treatment Israel gives the United States in the press.
You don't like what, Art?
The treatment that the United States gets from Israel.
The agreement?
No, treatment.
Oh, the treatment.
Yeah, it seems that Israel doesn't have any friends.
Well, Israel has been isolated, and there have been many times that only the United States stood with Israel, and on this issue, even the United States voted against Israel. But the Israeli government said they regretted our vote, but that it would not affect relations between the two nations, and it won't.
Yeah, but
we're not going to abandon Israel because of this vote.
Yeah, but didn't they call President Reagan a couple of names like he was incompetent?
Well, I don't recall them calling President Reagan incompetent. I don't see that word anywhere. It was not stated by Perez. It was not stated by Netanyahu. It was not stated by Shamir. It was not stated by Rabin. Who said it? Manny Schwartz at the delicatessen? Who said it?
Hey, I don't know who said it.
You dope. Of course you don't know who said it. Get off my phone. WABC. Dave, you're on Talk Radio 77 with Bob Grant. Hello.
Hello, Bob.
Yes, Dave.
I want to make 2 points. First of all, Mayor Koch found the strength to say back during the New York City Marathon that if Hasidic Jews, who happen to be some of the finest citizens of our city, who are decent people, he had the nerve to say he was going to bulldoze them if they got in the way of a bunch of dumb runners. But these pieces of garbage, these black supremacist racist dogs who are white haters, who hate America, who are the biggest hypocrites there are, he didn't find any kind of strength in them to tell the police to do what they had to do. Those people, Bob, were holding up traffic for hours before the cops even had the decency to arrest them. It's ridiculous. It's unbelievable how the police were just standing there, these dopes chant and hold up millions of people throughout the city, Bob.
Dave, we had a call from a transit police officer earlier who told us that they were warned by their inspectors. They were warned by their bosses. They were warned to play it cool, to behave themselves, to be good little boys, and not to come on strong. They were warned. Instead of the warning being issued to the Sharptons and the rest of the mob, the cops were warned to be good, don't don't get in the way of the people who are peacefully demonstrating.
And Bob, I'm looking at page 5 in the Daily News, and who do I see in the middle? A character from the past. I was down in North Carolina in the mid-'70s in the service at Fort Bragg, and who do I see but Ben Chavis, part of the Wilmington 8 that bombed a white grocery, that were bombing white people's houses and causing race riots in the city of Wilmington, North Carolina. So now he's brought his act up to New York City. He's got a collar on like he's a real man of the cloth. You got Daughtry next to him, a Trenton State convict. You got Mason. You know, Mason's from out Arkansas, Bob, and the reason he's come up here now is because they wouldn't take his baloney down in Arkansas. I'm just sick of these guys running our city, Bob. And the thing is, it always comes back to haunt all the decent people who are black and white. We're the ones who pay because they're going to start a race riot, and innocent people are going to be hurt.
Well, I appreciate what you're saying, and unfortunately, there's virtually nothing I can quarrel with. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you. So, Steve, who's on the New York line. Yeah, Steve.
Yes, Bob, I have a bone to pick with you. I think that you, of all people, should be somewhat ashamed of yourself. Why don't you stop crying about the racist comments and attitudes being portrayed by these so-called black leaders, C. Vernon Mason, Reverend Sharpton, Alton Maddox, and do something about it? There are other black leaders out there, unlike your caller of a couple of moments ago, Jeff, who said it reminds him of the 60s and 70s. This is not the 60s and 70s. There's more than one voice in the black community. And there are other black leaders who do not espouse hatred and bigotry. You can diffuse some of the frustration felt by your audience. And I don't know why you don't invite individuals like Thomas Sowell. You mentioned Roy.
All right, okay, I'm glad you talked about Thomas Sowell. By the way, he pronounces it Sowell.
Sowell, right.
Thomas Sowell has been invited on this program more times than I can count. Clarence Pendleton has been on the program.
I think it would be timely if you had them on the program now. I think that you have the leverage to suggest to them that because of the tension that exists in New York City, they would be welcome guests on your program, and they have the courage and the strength to swim against the tide. And I don't know why you, with all of your resources, can't get them on the show so that your audience can see that there's more than one voice in the black community.
Well, of course, the voice in the black community that you talk about, Thomas Sowell and a couple of other individuals, and these are great people, but the black community knows who the heck they are and cares less, and they're not going to follow Thomas Sowell.
Why don't you?
Oh, cut it out already! Cut it out already! You're carrying this too far. You're getting carried away with your own stupidity. Right away. Every time I indulge Bell, I wind up being sorry. I've been indulging you. Notice I haven't said much.
Why do you
I've been listening to you.
Name calling, Bob? Why do you have to resort to name calling?
It's not resorting. I'm just describing you. You are a dumbbell.
Am I calling you names?
I don't care. Call me names. I'm not calling you names. I'm describing you.
I'm not trying to increase your ratings. I'm trying to say that you have a
The guy is a dumbbell.
You can diffuse what's going on.
Diffuse my foot. I can diffuse nothing.
And now I know. Now I know why Sowell doesn't want to come on your show.
Thomas Sowell does want to come on the program.
Oh, but
I didn't say he didn't want to come on the program.
But he can't seem to make it, Bob.
What program has Thomas Sowell been on? Tell me one other radio program he's been on.
He's been on TV shows.
Tell me what other radio show he's been on, you jerk.
You know, people who use call names, I just never understand. What's your problem?
My problem is that I'm wasting too much time talking to a dummy like you. Now, will you get off my phone and let me talk to the real people?
Bob, the real people? I'm not a real person?
No, I'm beginning to think that you're a wind-up doll.
This is not a recording, Bob. I don't know why you feel confident about the fact that you have to name call instead of dealing with what I'm... Look, I agree with you in most instances. I'm just suggesting, why don't you do a little bit more than you're doing? And instead of resorting to name call...
And you talk about my resources. What resource? What do you think, I have a staff? I couldn't even bring my own producer over here. Like a lot of other people, when they get hired, they come in, they bring their own producer, even if they do a weekend show.
Bob, stop whining.
Why, stop whining? All right, I'll stop whining. Yeah, I'll stop whining. It's the end of him. On WABC, by the way, if you're checking in from New Jersey, here's the easy way to do it, 489 WABC. Just be a little patient. Don't be like that lady was, said she wanted to talk. Couldn't wait the 5-10 minutes. Come on. You got to understand, you're not the only one. George, hello.
Yes, hello, Bob.
Yes.
I'm a police officer, and what I'd like to say to you is that I believe in what Ben Ward has said, and that's basically that the cops are acting a little too quickly in many of these situations. Now, I could understand why they do it, and I sympathize with them, but all too many times it's been my experience that the nightstick or the gun is used without thinking. And it's because of...
You said, now let's stop this man right here. Let's try to learn something. George, you said, it's been my experience all too often. How many times were you involved in a situation where you were on the scene and your partner or partners used the gun needlessly?
Never once with the gun.
I see. So we'll withdraw that statement.
Yes.
All right. How many times were you involved when your partner or partners used the nightstick with too much alacrity?
Too many times.
I beg your pardon?
Too many times.
Too many times? What's too many times? 5 times? 10 times?
Well, it's so... over 12 years, I can't recall.
In over 12 years, about how many times? Could you give us an approximation?
I would say maybe 20 times a year I've seen it.
20 times a year you saw someone subdued with a nightstick?
Well, not subdued, beaten. Beaten into submission with a nightstick, yes.
Beaten into submission. Submission, that implies that the person was resisting arrest.
Basically, yes.
I see. So the guy's resisting arrest, and you don't want the cop to use the gun, okay, and you admitted that you'd never seen it in 12 years on the job, but you don't even want him to use the nightstick. What do you want him to use? Well, a friendly persuasion?
It's been my experience.
You want him to use friendly persuasion?
5 men on top of one
dope.
man.
I don't believe you're on the job. I don't believe you're on the job.
That's because
if you were really on the job,
most black people.
If you were really on the job, George, you wouldn't be saying that.
No, everybody...
You come up here in your uniform, will you? I don't believe you're on the job, you little weasel.
Well, listen, if I ever caught you, I'd use my nightstick on you.
Oh, really? Here's a guy saying they use the nightstick. Why would you use the nightstick on me, George?
Because I'd straighten you out to their position, and you'd see what...
Why would you use the nightstick on me, George? Because I'm calling your bluff? Because I'm exposing you as a fraud, a phony, a fake, a cheat, a liar, a deceiver? Is that why?
I catch a hold of you in one of these...
Hey, listen, I'll tell you what, I'll make a deal. Where are you?
Right across your head.
George, where are you right now?
You wouldn't think it's too funny. In Manhattan.
Hey, Putrid, where are you right now?
Manhattan, little man behind the mask.
Where are you right now?
In Manhattan.
Where in Manhattan?
Oh, it's about 38th Street.
Okay. We're on 6th Avenue and 54th. George, what is your badge number?
My badge number?
Yes.
Why should I give that to you over the air?
That would be
stupid, right?
To prove that you're really on the job. George, because I want to call...
That I just admitted that I had been involved in some brutality. That would be pretty stupid, wouldn't it?
How long have you been on the job, George?
12 years.
And what precinct are you out of?
Now, if I told you that, that'd be a little easier to narrow me down, wouldn't it?
George, what precinct are you out of?
Yeah.
George, were you ever in the... George, were you ever... George, were you ever in the...
What you want everybody to believe, but the
phony, were you ever in the...
black, and you were getting your ass beat out there. You wouldn't think it was too funny.
All right, George.
I could understand...
Look, George, I'm inviting you up to...
Don't think that it's...
George, I'm inviting you up to the studio, and I will publicly apologize if you come up here and prove to me that you're really on the job, that you're really a police officer. I will publicly apologize to you.
But what would it matter?
I'm here on the 8th floor.
Come out.
I'm here on the 8th floor. I'll tell you why it matters.
I wouldn't want
George,
the focus of ridicule.
George, I'll tell you.
All this trouble in my job. It's easy for you to tell me to come up there.
I'll tell you why, George. Then I will meet you outside. I'll meet. I'll meet you.
How it would be to have 8 years.
Will you please shut up for just a moment, George? Man to man, I will meet you anywhere you want. You prove to me that you are a police officer, and I will publicly apologize. I will make a statement to this vast audience that I misjudged you. That even though you sound like a little putrid two-bit weasel, you really are on the New York City Police Department. Now, isn't that worth meeting me, George?
Well, if I thought anything of you, and I thought if you meant anything, saying anything from you, then it would be. But basically, I could see you're just a...
You're using this as a cop-out. You fraud. You fake. I called your bluff. Get off my phone. Get off my phone. Anybody who really is on the New York City Police Department, if you really believe that little twerp, that weasel, that liar, that pretender, that phony, that fraud, that charade artist was really telling the truth, let me have it. If, on the other hand, you agree that I expose a fraud, a cheat, a liar, and a fake, tell me also. Right here on WABC, where the time is 12 minutes past 5 o'clock. John, you're on WABC. Hello.
Hello. Hello, Mr. Grant.
Yes, John.
Yes, I would like to know why exactly you think that those Howard Beach kids should have special cells.
Well, I think that there's no doubt they're going to be prey of the black inmate population. And I think that the prison runs the risk of having them be sodomized, victimized in many different ways. And that's what in all likelihood would happen. On WABC, I tell you, it's low light this time. It's a full moon. Well, it doesn't have to be a full moon, not in this town. This town is sick. Arnold, you're on WABC. Hello.
Yeah, Bobby Sox, it's me. Now, let me tell you something. That stuff you just talk about is a tremendous product because I suffer from stiff muscles and stiff joints, you know. But that's not what I'm talking about. First of all, what's all this talk about sex on the air? You got to know how many times people are having sex. You know, there could be people who could be listening to that show.
Well, Arnold, this is not anything new to discuss sex on a program.
Yeah, but you should know how many times people have it said. I got these two mossy kangaroos that are living upstairs, and they don't want to go to the Nutri-System, and they weigh 500 pounds apiece, and every time they have sex, the plaster falling on my head.
Maybe they're just doing calisthenics. Maybe
whatever they're doing it, Bobby Sox.
Uh-huh.
Now, here's the thing. Guess what? I got terrible news.
Uh-oh.
I was banned from the Friday night because that man who plays music in the wheelchair, you know what we're talking about, for old people, he said there's not enough room on the bill for me. And I'm terribly shocked and I'm terribly hurt. Because
you mean you're not going to be at Lemaire Friday?
They won't let me because he said there's not enough room. And I was going to bring my drums and I was going to unveil myself to the world. And I was going to play like a great man, but now they said there's no room for Arnold, and I don't know what to do. It's terrible.
So Arnold won't be at Lemaire Friday. Well, maybe in the future when Danny has one of his extravaganzas at the Holiday Inn North, maybe you can make it there.
Why don't you see what you could do, Bobby Sox?
All right.
I feel terrible.
Maybe Danny will call me tonight. You know, Danny is a creature of habit. He is such a creature of habit. It's pathetic. He calls on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but never on Friday, rarely on Saturday, never on Sunday, and never on Monday. Isn't that interesting?
He's a peculiar bird, you know. He's playing those songs of dead people, you know, but that's what he likes. He's a nice man.
Oh, they don't come any better.
Oh, he's a genius.
No, they don't come any better. I love him dearly, but he's such a creature of habit.
Well, Bobby,
I don't want to take too much of your time. I just want to round up the whole thing by saying, you know, everybody said you're great, you're this, you're handsome, you're a genius, you're intelligent, and I'm going to say this because this is how I feel. You are the most interesting human being I have ever met.
Oh, my God.
Well, what more can I say? What more can I say? I have to go. I'm very busy. Don't you laugh, because people might be listening.
Hey, you know what, Arnold? You know, I'm amazed that you don't get a hernia when you call a program the way you talk.
I got one foot up on the curb over here. What are you talking about? I ain't got a hernia. I'm in bad shape, brother.
I bet you put on an athletic supporter every time you call.
You think I should?
Well, anyway, listen, why don't you do the sign-off for me, Arnold?
Okay.
But, you know, you just sign off the program.
Okay.
And I'll just enjoy it along with everybody else.
You got it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for the day. Get Mandela and make sure that everybody listens to the Bob Grant Show. God bless you all from WABC.